I thought I was smart, that was like
Don't
probably
we
not a
all?
great, yeah, probably not a great idea. So the first lesson is to use other people's minds, their other people's brains, and to do it soon. Like if you give me a problem set now, man, I'm like, I automatically like, who can I go to who knows how to do, who already did it? The one thing I learned at Intuit is monomaniacal focus on the customer. Literally, like my last company, we made the engineers go out and meet with the customer.
Amazing.
And people are like, oh my goodness, this is a waste of time or whatever. No, at the very minimum, you're learning that that customer is a real human being. If you're going to build a large company, you have to be really good at building a team. So that was the second thing that I had to learn to do.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tech Leaders Playbook. Today, we're very honored to have Brian Hamiton on the show. Brian is the chairman of LiveSwitch and a leading expert on entrepreneurship. As a founder of Sageworks, which is now called Abrigo, America's first fintech company. Wow. Hamilton helped millions of small business owners understand their financial data. Also, through Inmates to Entrepreneurs, he encourages entrepreneurship as a means to economic opportunity. Hamilton's work has been featured all over the place in outlets such as Good Morning America, CNBC, and he started a show called Free Enterprise on ABC. I was not aware of that, Brian. Great to have you on. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here, Avetis. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's start, Brian. Let's start a little bit about your journey in entrepreneurship. I know you had a very, very successful business you built up and exited to KKR. I'd like to know a little bit about how you got to that point and all this other stuff that you've been doing since then.
Yeah. Well, how far do you want to go back?
You tell me.
Well, I'm goofing around, but there's a serious part of it. I started. We didn't call it entrepreneur in those days. It was just having your own business. That entrepreneur is a fancy French name for it. But I started running my own little companies when, like, literally I was like 10, 11, 12 years old. And it was a way, frankly, it was a way to make extra money. I mean, you couldn't get a job at 10 or 11 years old. So I was this kid, had a lawn mowing business, that type of thing. But the funny thing is that it started early, Avetis, but that taught me a lot about a lot of things, actually. And I was very involved running a company when I was in high school, B&B Landscaping Service. My friend Brendan is still in touch with me. And then I went to college and all that stuff. I paid my way through there. Then I went to graduate school at Duke in '88. And I realized once I was in grad school, particularly in the MBA program, I'm like, this entrepreneurship stuff is really going to be my path. I had a big, successful, blessed score with the sale of Sageworks in 2018. So I've run the whole gamut is the point, so like little companies and bigger companies. I've learned also in that process, as you know, Avetis, which is why you're doing this, is that there's some skill to it. There's a natural, like hitting a baseball. Some people hit a baseball better than other people, but there are certain things you can do to hit that baseball consistently. And there's a lot of information out there about entrepreneurship, and some of it's good, some not so good. So what I like to try to do is like level set things so that people can kind of know the real scoop. But anyway, that's about me, a little bit about my journey as an entrepreneur.
What inspired you to start Sageworks?
Let me answer that. When I got out of grad school, my dad didn't graduate from high school. He got his GED and he did well in his career eventually, but he did not. We didn't have a lot of money, is the point. And here I am down going to graduate school at Duke. And I get out at Duke and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go start a coin laundromat. And my dad, who didn't have the benefit of an education, he's like, what in the heck? Why are you doing that? You know what I mean? But I was pretty dead set on starting something, Avetis, and I knew that I needed to start something with low capital, right? So I got my first laundromat, and I could tell you about that. It's actually more interesting, I think, than Sageworks in some ways. And but I wanted to get muscle memory as to how to run any business. And I honestly don't think there would have been a Sageworks without the coin laundromats, believe it or not. And so I built that up. About, I think, 5 stores, and I sold that, and I used that money to fund Sageworks. And I knew that I always wanted to do, like, kind of try for a bigger play. I always knew that, and very early. But to answer your question specifically, I needed to get some capital, and I wanted to get some muscle memory as an entrepreneur. Then at about 5-6 years into that, I'm like, okay, let me go do something else. And I had a buddy, Sarah Torville, who was a database developer at Unisys, and she was a developer, and I had a financial system that I had built called ProfitSense, which is still, used by lots and lots of people all over the place. And she said, I can program that. We just got to talking at night. We were just buddies, and I can program that if you can architect it. And then that became Sageworks, really. So, and it's funny. I had one other thing, and I'm giving too long an answer, but it's funny how often in life things just happen organically from friendships. You know what I mean? We like to think we're all strategic and all that, and I think there's some element of that. But it's like the Forrest Gump thing with the feather in the movie, like, my destiny, what's my destiny going to be? If I hadn't run into Sarah, there'd probably be no Sageworks. And it kind of like sort of just started as a result of a friendship and sort of a mission.
Well, entrepreneurs are pretty good at putting themselves into positions to create these type of partnerships and this ideation, right? Because everywhere we go, we're open. We're open to hearing about ideas. We're open to connecting. We put ourselves in positions to have these odd aha moments, right?
Right.
So that's part of why I think that happens. It wasn't strategic, but you as an entrepreneur, you put yourself in these positions to constantly not have to be strategic. Sometimes it's random.
Right.
Now,
That's
the
right.
execution, it has to be strategic.
Right.
But in this case, I think the ideation was random, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about financial data translation. What is it, and why do you say Sageworks was the first fintech company?
Yeah, it's good PR. I don't know. I think it's true to this extent that I do believe we were the first company in the world to execute over the internet. There was another small company called Salesforce that started when we started in 1998. And if you think about when they started, all their software executed over the internet. So it was kind of a self-definition of what a fintech is, which is stuff that operates on the cloud that does financial stuff. The idea for Sageworks was super simple, actually. It really was. We developed an expert system technology, really like kind of early AI stuff that based upon all these funky algorithms that we came up with, a little different from the AI deployed now, but basically a bunch of financial formulas that, when combined, created these strings of characteristics of companies. But the point, because I don't want to get too geeky about it, it's not that complicated, was to translate financial numbers into plain language so that if you're reading a financial statement, a balance sheet, an income statement, a statement of cash flows, or whatever, you can get a very simple, plain language explanation for what's going on in that business.
Sure.
And the idea of it, and we were definitely mission directed from the day number one, was to get better financial understanding to all the small businesses in the world and hopefully help them understand how they're doing and how to do better. Like a compass, kind of like you would never think of getting in a boat and from North Carolina going to London without a compass, but there's so many businesses that run where the principals are super smart people, but they don't know how to read financial stuff. So that was the idea of Sageworks, and that of course that worked out.
It's extremely common that entrepreneurs, founders of companies, don't know the numbers as well as they should. I mean, it really is common because their skill is somewhere else, right? They're the visionary, they're the relationship people, they're the idea people, they're, and typically what they do is they end up hiring people to be in those roles. And if they're lucky enough to have found the great people that they got, then great, that works. Then they're dependent on those people. But if they don't get those people, then they really fall behind and struggle.
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
you getting in front of a huge private equity firm like KKR is not random. How did that happen? Did you build your business to exit, or did you build your business just to have a good, profitable business, and it just happened to work out that way?
Yeah, I don't want to turn, that's a great question, thank you. I don't want to turn every answer into some complex thing, but I will tell you that at each stage of the business, my goals shifted a little bit. Like, in 2001, we licensed. We literally shipped with QuickBooks. I mean, it was huge. We had 3 employees, and we shipped with QuickBooks. And at that point, if Intuit had come to me, Avetis, and say, "Hey, man, we'll pay you $10 million for this thing. I'm like, whoa, that's great. I'll take the money. But what happened was, and that's going back, 20 years ago. But as the company gets bigger, your goals change a little bit. Now, some people, God love them, they'll go and say, hey, I want to start this business, and when it reaches a value of $500 million, I want to sell it. I was never one of those guys. I was like kind of going with the flow. Let's get to profitability. Let's run a great business. Let's get customers who really love us, Avetis, and then we'll see what happens. So it happened kind of organically. But everybody has their own thing. You know what I mean? At LiveSwitch, our goal, my company now, LiveSwitch, our goal is to go public, and very particular reasons for that. But with Sageworks, it was a little different. It was like each stage got a little different. And then by the end, we had a lot of recurring revenue. We were profitable. And then, of course, you get people knocking on your door every day, hey, would you be interested in selling or getting an investment? And those are the nice things,
Nice. Brian, what were the biggest leadership lessons from growing and exiting a company like that? Like, what are 3 things you could tell us that, you learned now that you're on number 2?
It's a great question. Well, first one, I think when I was younger, Avetis, I thought I was smart, that was like probably not a great idea. So the first lesson is to use other people's minds, other people's brains, and to do it soon. Like, if you give me a problem set now, man, I'm like, I automatically, like, who can I go to who knows how to do, who already did it? That was the big mistake early on. I mean, maybe it was ego, ignorance, who knows? That was a big one. The second one I would say is the importance of building a team, really. Like if you and I want to go start like a landscaping business, like me and you. I was walking through Beverly Hills like 2 days ago, actually, and I'm like, wow, there's probably a lot of money to be made here. I see some lawns there that are not cut the right way, and there's probably, that zip code probably has a lot of money, right? You and I could do that, man, and we could make money fast. We'd be profitable in a week or 2. I could do that in my sleep, right? And that's okay. That's very hard to do. But if you're going to build a large company, you have to be really good at building a team. So that was the second thing that I had to learn to do, is to assemble a great team of people. And that's hard. And there's a lot of stuff underneath that, by the way. But I would say those are the 2 lessons I learned. I mean, maybe the third one, I'll throw one in just to give me your number, is there's a lot of misinformation around entrepreneurship. Like, if you and I went to high school chemistry or something, or I don't know, whatever we did together, and we could do like 2 + 2 = 4. That's probably true, right? Like, okay, 2 + 2 = 4. If you combined this chemical with that chemical, you're going to get that. Yeah. With entrepreneurship, there is a lot of misinformation, like massive misinformation. And I guess the third thing I would say is like how important it is to get rich information from people and to who know what the hell they're talking about. Yeah. And I can tell very quickly, like a good professional tennis player could probably tell who's good at tennis, right? I can tell very quickly where people are on that curve. So getting good information is really important, just on the basic things,
So would you say, Brian, surround yourself with the advice, surround yourself by business literate people, really good people that have done it, been there, done that, to guide you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so don't do it on your own, basically.
And get people, I do. I want to throw a little commercial in there for the accountants. Let me throw the commercial in, and then we'll keep moving. And I know it sounds so basic, but I always tell entrepreneurs, look, man, you're gonna build a team. We want to go from our little Beverly Hills truck, you and me in a truck, doing our thing. We want to build it up. You need to build a team, but you really need a good accountant. And I like my accountants old, lots of gray hair, the hair's growing out of their nose, that type of thing.
And ears.
Yeah. Because they've seen a lot of pitches. They've seen a lot of mistakes that people make. So get a good accountant. It's amazing how often people get into trouble with payroll taxes and sales taxes and excise taxes. Basic things. They could have avoided it by I want my accountant old and grumpy.
Love it.
Okay. So, yeah. But I would say, going back to your question, like, getting information from other people who are credible. I also have to say this, and I think you're going to get to it. I started an outfit called Inmates to Entrepreneurs 32 years ago. And we'll talk about it later. But one of the things is I always want to get information, Avetis, from people who have actually started a company. I want to get information from people who have actually been in my place. And I used to say at Sageworks, man, if the guy hasn't made payroll, I'm not listening to him. Again, you got these. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. I'm using him as a metaphor, but you get these Tony Robbins type people out there in walking across coals or whatever, and you can do this and you can do that. But I'm like, I can tell talking to an entrepreneur whether they know what they're talking about. And the only people who really know that are people who have done it.
Well, it's funny you said something, Brian. On my last episode, I was talking to a gentleman that was talking about the whole work from home and all this stuff. One of the things you see on LinkedIn now is people that have never run any business, have not paid someone literally what you mentioned, not one payroll in their life, that will criticize multi-billion-dollar businesses because they chose to bring people back into the office, or they made a decision, whatever it may be. And to me, it's hilarious because I'm thinking, look, you want to show them the way, hire all of their people that they laid off that refused to come to the office, and then show them how it's done. Until then, shut up. Like, you haven't done anything, right? You've read a book or two, you've made a couple $100, and now you think you could tell the world how it's done. That's the funny thing. You see 23-year-old coaches. I'm thinking, what are you coaching me on, right? Life coaches that are 23 years old. So that's where the old wise gray grumpy comes in, is like, look, man, work with people that have been there, done that, not just know what to say and just say it, right? Or to how to criticize others that have done it because they don't believe in their strategy. So
here's the thing. I'll give you a good example. There's so much misinformation out. Well, if you do this and you do that and that, the idea that you can go build this big enterprise like in a year or 6 months, it is total fiction. It really is. I guarantee you, if you look at the Google guys or I know Musk. I just read his biography. It's really interesting. It takes time. The whole idea with the media or popular press or popular culture, like, do these 10 things and you'll be successful. I hope that happens to me. It has never happened to me. So I guess the third and fourth lesson are combined, which is give yourself some time. You need time to be successful.
Absolutely.
I don't know anyone who just wakes up and builds $1 billion company in 2 or 3 years. It just doesn't happen.
Brian, it took us for 7 years. We were growing, but very, very small growth, 3 to 5%. 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And finally, we hit our stride in 21 and 22 and made Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies. But it took us almost 8 years to see some real growth. But now we've used that growth to learn, to hire better people, to make better decisions. This is our 3rd recession that we are surviving and hopefully thriving through. So you're absolutely right. Time will tell. You have to have staying power in the business world to be able to see some real growth, right? People have gotten lucky, but it's pretty rare, right? Right now, people are getting lucky with this kind of video streaming and learning world, right? So that's a big one. But all this stuff is a phase, and people like to follow others and try to do exactly what they did to win from it. But sometimes the timing is different, the execution is different. So I agree. Speaking of execution, let's talk about LiveSwitch. What is LiveSwitch? What's it? What's the role in real-time video communication and its mission?
I hate calling us a video company. We're a communications platform, largely doing a lot of video. And what we want to do is tech enable every small business in the world. There's so much pressure on small businesses right now and entrepreneurs. And we're using largely video technology to create more of an equal playing field. So we own our own video stack. Like right now we're on a video application that was built on a stack, what we call a video stack. We own that, but we're building specific video applications to help small businesses at LiveSwitch. And fortunately, it's working really well. We can save people time. We can truly save them time and truly make money, get a higher ROI, more estimates out there, especially in home services. But my whole, if you look at my life, there's been a pattern. What I'm trying to do is give some competitive advantage to smaller businesses that don't have resources. And luckily, we kind of just fell uphill on that at LiveSwitch. That's how we eventually found our market there. So, LiveSwitch, I'm very not proud, but I'm really happy that we're using our technology capability to create a level playing field for small businesses and entrepreneurs.
How is it different than, let's say, a Zoom or a Teams or a WhatsApp or I don't know, FaceTime? Like, what's the
Good
key
question.
element?
So it's a great question. Let's say that I am I don't know, I'll just use it again, a landscaper. I'm a landscaper. And you're in Beverly Hills, you're a landscapee. You're a prospect, right? You want to get your lawn cut, you want to get your tree cut, you want to whatever. Instead of me having to drive out and see you, I'll text you a link, literally text you a link. You click on the link and you show me the work that you want done, through the video like this, show it all over to me. And it gets sent back to me. We put it in a library file. By the way, we work across all devices, iOS and Android, all this weird stuff I don't understand. But we basically will make it so that we can tremendously improve the number of estimates that you're making as a landscaper or as a tree person, a pool person, or whatever. You can do a lot more estimates. You save gas. You don't have to go out and see the client. And the prospect also doesn't have to be inconvenienced by you coming out for appointments. And we also keep all that data, like a Dropbox for Video Avetis, where we keep all that data almost as a CYA thing, so that you can always document the before and after of the work that you've done.
Got it.
And that's one of the products. But again, the ROI for that for our buyers is really terrific, because again, you're saving people tons of money.
Brian, I think you already answered a piece of the value add, but I was going to say, I guess, what's the key? I could do the same thing on, let's say, a WhatsApp or a video or FaceTime. Like, what makes it more unique? You mentioned one reason is you've got a file. Now we can see videos of what it was and what it is now.
Yes, yep, I get it. Yep, no, I get it. It's very important. And I'll answer that. So, first of all, you could use WhatsApp, but you got to be WhatsApp to WhatsApp. For us, you can be any device at all. As long as you have a browser, it'll work. So no matter what type of phone you've got, or whether you've got an iPad or whatever, we work. But the second one is correct, is the library of data that we keep for the customers. Very, very important in today's environment, especially as a small business. Now, there's a lot of doodads, Avetis, underneath that. That's the sort of the core value. But we also allow you to do things like, let's say that go back to the laundromat. Let's say you've got 5 laundromats. You can put QR codes up in your laundry, so you don't have to have an attendant for each one. The customer comes in, scans the QR code, and gets instant access to you. So you can get your eyes on site even if you're not there. We allow people to put our video capability on forms on their website, so they can get estimates and do async videos remotely 24 hours a day without even having to be on site. So it's kind of like every business. You start with a little core of value, and then you build out. So it's our competitors are definitely not Zoom and Teams, definitely.
Very cool. Brian, I don't know if you've enabled any AI into this new endeavor you're on, but if you have, what's the role in enhancing real-time engagement in business applications using AI?
It's another great question. Right now we're focused on core functionality on, in football we called it blocking and tackling, right? We will use AI, and I've got some background in this obviously, but we will use AI in our video applications to interpret images and to do inventory and all that funky stuff. We're not quite there yet, but we will be. But again, right now we're running the ball up the middle and just trying to do the blocking and tackling real well.
Nice. Speaking of, what leadership philosophies do you have, or do you kind of teach in this fast evolving tech space where every day something's changing, right? I mean, there's companies that could go out of business because of AI. There's
Right.
startups that I know that I like the founders. I'm an investor in a lot of AI startups.
Right.
I like the founders. I like what they have now, but I sense that they are 2 releases of ChatGPT away,
Right.
or some other AI product away from being gone because they
Yeah.
won't be necessary. Like, what's some leadership philosophies you use
Yeah.
to stay current, be cutting edge at the same time, operate a business?
Yeah. My son is getting his PhD in math, and obviously he's my son. I love him, and I'm goofing around a little bit, but I say, look, you're very smart, but you have no wisdom.
Right.
you know, but sometimes he pulls some stuff out of his butt, I gotta say, and I'm going to answer your question specific. I'm going to give you nail this for you, right? Or more importantly, for your listeners, right?
Sure.
But he goes, one advantage that you might have is the fact that you ran blue collar businesses before you did tech. And I'm like, wow, this dopey kid, he's right. That's true because you learned the basics.
Yes.
Example, back in 2001, I mentioned this. We had like literally 2.5 employees. It was crazy. And we licensed to this small outfit called Intuit. You're in California. You've probably heard of them, right?
Well, we use them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Their
QuickBooks,
headquarters.
Quicken.
One of their headquarters is down the street from
Oh,
us.
really? Yeah.
Yes.
Their big ones, of course, as you know, is in Mountain View.
Bay Area.
But QuickBooks, Quicken, TurboTax, those guys, right?
Sure.
Well, we licensed to those guys when we were like tiny, just a small little company. And the one thing I learned at Intuit is monomaniacal focus on the customer. Like, they're crazy. I could tell you stories of stuff that they've done. Crazy. Like, as business people, we all want to think we do well with customers. Very few businesses are awesome at customer. And even at Sageworks, man, even we were selling to banks. I drove across the country, and it was very nice to see the CEO and the president of the bank, and thank you for licensing the software. It's nice to meet you. Let's go get lunch. But I always wanted to talk to the user. I always want to talk to the guy using the application, watching him use it. What I'm saying, to answer your question, is yes, we've got AI. Yes, there will always be technology advantage. But if you are incredibly focused on the customer and the user experience, whether the user experience is software or eating a cheeseburger, I don't think you have to worry too much about AI. Now, there are certain businesses where, AI, could replace them. I think you're right.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that I have learned in my career is that there are very few businesses that get customer really well. We have our software engineers meeting physically. We're a video company.
Yeah.
We have our engineers meeting physically and our product managers with our customers.
Wow.
Like I'm like, and why? Because I want you to go see the person's environment,
Absolutely.
see their personality, what are the struggles they're having. You're going to be able to take all kinds of data inside of you when you do, like the Japanese say, get belly to belly with the customer. So literally, like my last company, we made the engineers go out and meet with the customer.
Amazing.
And people were like, oh my goodness, this is a waste of time or whatever. No, at the very minimum, you're learning that customer is a real human being. It's
huge.
They're
Solving
real.
real
Like
problems.
Avetis, you're not. I forgot to call you, by the way. I forgot you were in LA, and I remember our little
Next time.
pre thing, right? But like you're a real person, right? You got real like if you get out with that customer, you're going to humanize that customer experience much better. And I'm telling you, I've been around the block. Not many businesses get that.
Brian, let's actually unpack that because you're absolutely right. I mean, again, customer engagement is huge. Customer obsession is a great word, but you've given me one thing, is get everybody to actually meet the customer.
Yes.
Give me some other things that businesses could do right now that are super doable for anybody, any business, to get closer with their customers. Because I do agree, the more technology we have, the less need we have to physically meet these people. But what
Oh
a
my
miss.
God, you're
What
getting
a
me,
miss.
dude. You're getting me fired up. Oh my, you shouldn't even have said that. I keep telling everybody at our company, you guys want to replace customer service with CRM systems. I built one. You want to replace customer experience with Jira, a bug logging system. You cannot replace customer experience without getting with the customer. So you could pick up a phone and, hey, Avetis, how do you like my cheeseburger? How do you, after they fainted, right? Because nobody ever calls them for the feedback. They're going to give you very rich feedback. By the way, I don't I don't know the owners. But I go to California. And half the reason I go to California is for In-N-Out Burger.
Wow.
My son and I were there last week. We went like 3 times, and just think of you're a California guy. You know
Yes.
the outfit, right? Is you go there and it's like, oh my goodness, it's friendly, it's responsive, it's quick, there's somebody behind that business, whether it's Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out Burgers or any great company that is getting rich feedback from their customers and also doing something about it. So yeah, pick up a phone. How do you like my cheeseburger? Or whatever you can do to get rich feedback directly from the customers. Now, one other thing, I have been an entrepreneur, I guess an owner, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested in what the product manager has to say about the product. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm very interested in what the customer reps have to say about the product. I'm very interested. But nothing replaces the need for me
Great.
to talk directly to the people.
Brian, you're dead on. Chick-fil-A has a great example as well. I mean, just wonderful customer service compared to, I went to a Wendy's randomly one day about a year ago. We'll never go to Wendy's ever again. I had a terrible experience, and then they reached out to me, and I was like, good, they'll fix it. Never heard back again. The general manager will call you. Never did. So the touch points between corporate office or whatever it was to the actual store was so terrible that I never heard back from those. I will go out of my way never to go back to a Wendy's again because of that one experience. But every time you go to an In-N-Out, you have a bad experience, which almost never have, they'll fix it. Get you back in there. That's huge. Okay, so communicate with your clients, make phone calls. What else? Give me one other way.
Go see them physically. I mean, you could send emails and do surveys. But your point's well taken. If you do a survey, like do something.
Do something with it. Don't just take the feedback and say, sorry, you had a bad experience. Here's $5. I'm not interested in your money. I'm interested that you care about your customers. You know what I mean?
And give, you could give them gift cards. You can, here's the thing, man, is like I'm 61 and it took me 60 years to learn some basic things that people always know when you give a crap about them. They
100%.
always do. The dumbest things me too. Is you think you can BS people. People know when a company cares about them.
Absolutely.
People know that. And sure, of course I want to make money. I mean, yes, of course I'm here for that. But I'm also very interested in how happy or fulfilled, what have I given to you as a customer? So I'm like really into that. By the way, one quick little analog to this, and I don't know if it's true, but folklore at Intuit. Just folklore. But I met this dude, and I think it's probably true. The founder of Intuit is a guy named Scott Cook. He's one of these low-key guys who's super successful. He started Intuit. He's not out on X like giving his opinion about metaphysics and everything. He's just a low-key dude, and he's built this great company named Intuit since 1982.
Wow.
But there was a story when I was there that he was at a meeting with all the top muckety mucks, and he was asking, "Hey, the QuickBooks users, what do they think about this new feature?" And the guys are talking around it and sort of like vague corporate stuff. And he goes, I tell you what, let's go find out. Now, again, I don't know if this is true, but I love the story. It's a hell of a story. He goes, let's find out. Like at the equivalent of a board meeting.
Yeah.
Gets everybody in his car, drives out to a convenience store owner, a small business owner he knew, and said, hey, and showed him this feature in QuickBooks. What do you think about it? And I was like, man, you can't teach that. But you see what I'm trying to say? That orientation, he was doing two things. Number one, he probably wanted the feedback. But number two, he was teaching his executives, there's no replacement to going to the customer. So
100%.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's funny you brought that up, Brian. I literally got a call from Intuit today from QuickBooks, and they're like, "Hey, we're trying to move away from this like B2B self-serve SaaS model to actually having, client success managers and communicating with our customers.
Right.
Any interest in talking to us?" I said, absolutely, man. Here's what's happening with my business.
Yes.
Here's what I like about QuickBooks. Here's what, honestly, we don't use it for budgeting. We don't use it for analysis, future thing. We just look at it, P&L, whatever, pay bills, invoice, so on and so forth. And by the way, I have a bunch of integration needs. He's like, great, I'll set up a meeting. I was shocked, right? Because as these businesses get bigger and bigger, they want to talk to their customers less and less. And that
he has institutionalized that. And in my opinion, Musk is a genius. I mean, I don't like some of the things he's out of his swim lane, my goodness.
Yes.
But he's a genius, obviously. There's great entrepreneurs. The same thing with Bezos. But Scott Cook, yes, he has done it. He has institutionalized customer service.
Brilliant. That's
when I was
you do.
And when I was there, they were only like a couple thousand people, but now, obviously they're much bigger. But how did he do that? And he just talking about it over and over again.
Well, Brian, you know what I've learned also with us. We did the same thing, right? As we became, we're a technology consulting and recruiting firm. As we became national, meeting our clients, our actual clients, the CIOs, CTOs, CEOs, became less and less necessary in person. We used to just Zoom has changed the world. Zoom, Teams, whatever, video. You almost feel like you're meeting someone in person, but you cannot replace that human touch. No. I mean, you meet someone. I went out to the Bay Area, met one of our good clients, and it just humanized these people. And you realize, man, these are family people. They got real issues, they got real challenges. And then when someone's like, hey, they're kind of weird and they didn't show up to a call or they were a little disorganized, you understand why that is. And on the flip side, you've humanized yourself as a vendor, as a partner, and now they understand, man, this is a smart person. I can learn from this person. I can trust this person, so you can push back. I mean, I've literally had an argument with one of my clients where I said, no, you are wrong. You are wrong. It's your business, but I'm not going to allow you to make this mistake. Right. And after a little bit of an argument, the person actually said, appreciate you being such a great partner, because I said, if you want to order taker, you got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy. You got the wrong company. We just don't work that way. I don't want to. I want you to thrive, not just get this done and be over with. So, but again, without building that relationship, I would never feel the connection to be able to do that comfortably, right? And so I would allow this person to make a mistake in the way that they were operating, and then say, sorry, you know, this is what you said for us to do, and we just did what the client said. Right. So again, very important to connect human to human, ideally in person, I think.
And the thing is like I said, look, man, if we went out and started a landscaping outfit in Beverly Hills, you and I would do great together. We'd be fine.
We should. You keep talking about this. Let's go to business, man. I'm a
connected
great
guy
in LA.
It's a great way to stay in shape, isn't it? Because you're always moving, right? I did it in my 20s, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, I could eat whatever I wanted. I was moving all day, But we would do great at it. But the key is, if now you want to hire 5, 10, 15, 20 people, how do you institutionalize that? How does In-N-Out, how does Chick-fil-A, my goodness, they're serving cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
I mean, how do they get those people? And by the way, I studied how they did it, but you got to institutionalize the love of the customer, I think a lot of employees sometimes, Avetis, think that the money is in like a bank vault back somewhere.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that the way they're getting paid is from the customer, not from me. So anyway,
You talked about, Brian, ticketing systems. They're great, sure. Hey, you've got a problem.
Right.
Let's put something in and call it a day. The problem with that is, again, it's not enough. It's not enough because one time I was having a challenge with a vendor with a software product, and they just were saying, please put a ticket in. And here I'm the CEO of the company saying I need to meet with someone. And I said on the same email string, you know what, Jackie, let's move on from this vendor. And she says, hey, they're on this email. I said, good. I want them to be on this email because it's understand there's a ticketing situation, but there's got to be a point where you're like, oh my God, this customer's frustrated. They're not happy with us. We should be talking to them. Anyway.
That's a horrible, just wait real quickly though, please. Like, that is a horrible word, ticket. That reminds me of the DMV. Like when I first got to LiveSwitch, I love the guys, they're great. Do not use the word ticket in this company. Right. That's not a ticket, it's a request for service. And wow,
that's
what
great.
A terrible word.
I didn't feel loved at all. And guess what? We left that company 2 months later. Just didn't feel the love, and they had been acquired, shockingly, and no longer cared about the little guy, I guess. Well, Brian, let's talk about this Inmates to Entrepreneurs and the social impact that you're trying to make and have made over the years. Tell me a little bit about this, and why did you choose to do this, and what have you learned from it, and what have you given to it?
Yeah, so 1992 comes out of Oxford, North Carolina, a black Baptist minister by the name of Robert J. Harris. And I'm a white Irish Catholic guy out of Connecticut, and I meet him through the SBA program. We became friends. I mean, it was that simple. And he would do the Bible ministry of Avetis around the local prisons, 1992. And, you do the go around and do his, I don't want to call it Bible thumping, but that's sort of what it is, go to the prisons. And I loved hanging out with Revs. So I was just like, hey, whatever, wherever you want to go, I'll go with you. And I went there. I never forget this. This is an idea I will take some credit for. It definitely came to me. During one of the breaks, during one of the Bible ministry classes, a guy comes up to me, orange jumpsuit, the whole 9 yards. And I said, small talk, hey, what are you going to do when you get out of prison? And he goes, I'm going to get a job. I'll never forget this. I remember the weather of this day. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't want to discourage him or anything, but I'm like, boy, that might be hard to do, like, when coming out of prison with your record, right? I thought that. Yeah. And that was the light bulb moment for Inmates to Entrepreneurs, literally. And I thought, instead of getting a job, let's help you go create one you start your own small business, your own small service business. That was 32 years ago. We've brought thousands of people. It might be more than 1 million now, because now we do the remote stuff and all that over the last 32 years. And we help people who are judicially involved to start small, low capital businesses. And it's been a really incredible journey for me.
That's huge. I mean, there's another one out here called Homeboy Enterprises.
I know it.
You know it.
I know the guys, yeah.
Really cool kind of mission. I met them. I met the founder. Yep. And he even said at the end, did you like the service? And we said, yeah, it was phenomenal. He said, well, those are homeboys and homegirls, right? Mm-hmm. From the program, and look at the impact that they're making. They're all working. They're paying taxes, and instead of robbing your house. So there you go. You're welcome.
Yes.
So why do you think, give me like a really cool, I guess, memorable story that has come out of your teachings on this in this work?
Oh yeah, well, there's so many of them. Well, I'll tell you the one that I always tell, and I'm not bored of it. But apparently, I was at a prison in North Carolina, Orange Correctional Facility, and I was doing a little talk about how to start a low capital business. This spiel I've done 1,000 times, probably like you, so I did it. And then about a couple of years later, I get a call from somebody who says, hey, I was in prison when you did your talk at Orange Correctional. Scott Jennings, who I love, calls me, and I didn't know Scott. I was like, oh, all right, that's nice of you. Hey, I wanna help out with Inmates to Entrepreneurs, and he started his own business, and now he's on our board of directors, and just an incredible person. I've been to the White House with him at least once, maybe twice actually. for that whole program, the reform program they were trying to put together a couple years ago. And I love talking about Scott because he started a business and he got involved as a mentor, and now he's on our board of advisors. So
Amazing.
it's a nice story, yeah.
Why do you think companies should make this a priority, to be mission driven, to combine purpose and profitability and all that?
Well, it's another great question. I think any great business already has a social purpose. Like, and hear me out on that one. Like, for example, Inmates to Entrepreneurs, we think we're doing good work, and I think we are. I mean, it's wonderful. It's a nonprofit, right? But you take any for-profit business. If I go get a good burger at a place, well, that place is providing me and my family with, hey, maybe a little bit better of a day. And I think my point, the point I'm trying to make is that as entrepreneurs, we got to look at ourselves like as the ants on the sidewalk carrying the bread, right? Meaning there's this big ass piece of bread and you got your 5 ants carrying it. And each of us is doing a little tiny thing, but we make that human experience slightly better. I always say this, the dynamic, if you look at the history of the world, the dynamic range of difference between Tesla and you and I having a Beverly Hills landscaping company, very small. So each entrepreneur, we're all doing our part by providing good services and products to make people's lives just a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Does this make sense? Or that's the way I look at it.
It does. No, it's huge, man. Like, at the end of the day, making an impact just feels good. So it's huge. All right, couple of quick questions. One leadership habit that's helped you the most?
I write down everything that I'm going to do, old school, in a book, and it never gets taken off. I'm looking for it now. I know you wanted a quick answer. I'm sorry, but
No, it's all good.
But I write down. I won't put it out here for public consumption too much, but I write down everything I'm going to do. I prioritize everything high priority, and it never gets off that. I just keep forwarding in that book till it gets done. I learned that a long time ago from a cat named Brian Tracy, who was I think he still is a famous educator. That's one management habit I've got. I'm very disciplined about that.
Writing things down, getting
Write
them
things
checked.
down.
I had that with my former business partner, a great guy, but not very technology savvy. He's 65 years old, and he'd struggle getting things done until he got a book just like that, and then all of a sudden, so much more is getting done.
Yes.
One tech trend you're most excited about?
Wow, that's so funny. I've been in tech for 25 years. I'm pretty anti-tech, actually, meaning I think the problem with tech companies is they're not paying attention to the basics. I think AI obviously is going to be huge. How you monetize that and take advantage of it, I don't know. Blockchain, which is really the ability to track things dynamically and accurately, is a huge trend. I think those two will continue.
That's pretty good.
And I
One
think with
advice-
video too,
yeah.
by the way, obviously.
Video,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why you believe in it.
Yeah.
One advice you'd give to an aspiring leader, whether tech or not tech?
I would definitely get advisors. I wish I had done that earlier. I think that's pretty good advice. And the other one is you got to work your ass off. I have never met anybody successful in business who does not work extremely hard. There's no free lunch, man. That's the advice I'd give.
Brian, that's, all the stuff we talked about is huge. They talk about there's intelligent people and then there's smart people. And to me, smart is crystallized intelligence. It's something that someone gathers over years and years of mistakes, wins, books, meeting great people much smarter than us. So I think you brought a ton of that and I appreciate it. Speaking of crystallized intelligence and mentoring and all that stuff, hope you don't mind, but today was my first episode, since my father had passed. So I wanted to pay a quick tribute to my amazing father who was a mentor. So.
Unfortunately I've been down that road. I'd love to tell you that's going to get easier, but you're getting me emotional now. The more my father died 20 years ago, but the more I think, as time goes on, I miss him more. So I'm sorry for your loss.
Appreciate that, Brian. Appreciate you being here, man. Learned so much, and it's all about people. It's kind of what I got from this episode, and it's all about customer engagement and love and getting to know your people. Appreciate everything you do. Good luck with this awesome new startup. I have a feeling you're going to do big things, I'm looking forward to connecting with you in person when you're in Beverly Hills when we start that lawnmower business.
And no, after we'll go to In-N-Out.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you, man. Appreciate you being here, brother.
All right, thanks, bud.
And that brings us to the end of another great episode of the Tech Leaders Playbook. I want to thank you for joining us and hope you took away some valuable insights to apply in your professional journey. Don't forget to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform so you don't miss out on the next great conversation. I promise it'll be good. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate if you could leave us a review. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but it also helps others discover the podcast. Better leaders mean better working environments. Better working environments leads to happier people. Remember, a rising tide lifts all boats. I'm Avetis Antaplyan, and this has been the Tech Leaders Playbook. Keep leading, keep learning, keep giving, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, stay inspired, my friends.